I was really concerned about violations of the Sunshine Law before the meeting started because there seemed to be such extensive deliberation prior to the appointment process beginning.
Jack, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask one question on the follow-up from the last block. Scott, you mentioned that there were a lot of meetings that were held in different places prior to that day. Did all the commissioners attend those, or just a few here and a few there?
Yeah, just a few here and a few there.
So,
they were all sunshined.
Right, and I understand that, but I guess my point would be that not all 19 commissioners got to hear from the people who were nominated or hear about them, because you didn't have that discussion that day.
But you have to realize some of the people didn't service till that morning.
No, I understand that.
Certainly was one of those guys that 5th District kept pretty secretive till...
Charles Bolus, your candidate in the 2nd District.
No, Mr. Bolus had come out and had submitted his application to the commission office by that Monday, like he was supposed to do. You know, he was out there. He was on Channel 6's website. You know, I think he was out there, and I've heard people say that, but I think they were just evidently didn't know.
Let me ask, and I'll just be blunt about this. There have been a number of people that have criticized your paper for being beholden to a variety of interests in town, and frankly, whether that's true or not, you can always argue it, because if you ever run anything in an editorial section, you're going to get criticism from the other side. Why did the paper suddenly sort of decide to step up and be the champion of this cause versus a variety of other ones that maybe you could have intervened in?
Well, we have another access case going right now. We've been suing KPD for more than a year for access to police videos. We think it's you know, kind of amazing that they kind of release police videos when they want to, and it's good for them, but if an officer is involved in an accident, they don't. So it's not isolated. We take these stances when we think it's appropriate, and this was a time we thought was appropriate.
I kind of think it's the newspaper. They think that's their responsibility. So, I mean, it happens all over the country, actually.
Right, and this is a situation we could talk about for hours. I have a sneaking suspicion it's not the end of this, so we appreciate you all for being here. We've got to take a break. We'll wrap this thing up in just a couple of minutes. It's a DVD version to get all of the commercial conversation that has gone on as the guests were leaving. The conversation
and is currently going on.
I want to say something before we start. You say you're splitting the world between sports and news, and I just point out that politics are only the only true adult sport. So it's a good fit for both.
Well, it's blood sport, as we say.
I get to wear more hats, and that's always a plus. So here's the one thing I'm curious about. To me, this whole issue breaks down to, is there someone who's going to come forward in this lawsuit who's going to say, yes, I had X, Y, and Z conversation about all of these events that take place, and if that's the case, then how do you think this breaks down?
I disagree. Yes, because I'm going to tell you why. I think fundamentally, despite all the problems and all the political stink and everything else, that once one or more of these county commissioners are forced to raise their right hand, swear to tell the truth, and give a deposition, and ask a question just as I asked, and Lumpy did a fair thing. He said, I'm not going to answer that question because we're in litigation. Okay? I think all of us can read and understand what that may be, but I think when Lumpy or Scott or any other county commissioner gets put under oath, they have two choices: to tell the truth or to lie, and I don't think they're going to lie.
I would agree with that. I think it's going to have to come to that before you're going to have people step up and say, yes, I violated your version of the Sunshine Law.
Then the question is, and I think it's fair that I disagree with it, but I think it's fair that Chairman Moore and Commissioner Lambert say that we don't think that two people talking about something in the back hall is a violation of the Sunshine Act. And I think that, as we sort of joked about, the lawsuit brought by the News Sentinel and Jack McElroy is going to, hopefully, once and for all, answer that question. And if it causes County Commission to have to do business differently, then so be it. I'm tired of the excuse, this is the way we've always done it, so it must be right.
Well, this has such far, every board, I serve on the TVA board and the UT board, which are public entities, and, we're under the same Sunshine Law. So, I would be hard-pressed to believe that this is going to overturn the two or more deliberations, because as long as I've been on these kinds of boards, that's what we have, lived under, and I just don't see any judge overturning that.
Well, here's what I'm just curious about. Regardless of what would have happened, insert scenario of your choice. do you honestly think, regardless of what would have happened, wouldn't there have invariably been some type of lawsuit or some sort of litigation in some sort of form? And is there any way that this county gets over, Chartergate 2006 and 2007? Is there any realistic way that happens?
Yeah, by the time it all works out. I think if there are 100 possibilities that could have happened, 98 of them probably involve some form by somebody of litigation, and will discount any creative or non-creative lawsuit that Herb Monsieur might have been able to fashion. Now that said, for those people that watched this meeting and were at that meeting, it was really troubling because it was obvious what was going on. Deadlock, let's all huddle up in the back room, and whether deals were cut or whatever, they'd come back out with answers, and that bothered people from a public perspective.
It looked bad. I watched it on TV. It looked bad. I don't know what went on behind the scenes, if anything, but it did not look good when you were watching it on television.
And it is something that, as I mentioned earlier, probably we may talk about it just a little bit more.
We might live long enough to see solutions.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate you all for being here. Have a great day and take care.